Something I think that most of us have felt at some point in our lives um, is that someone else or other people have this upper hand on us. They're smarter than us. They're more capable than us. They understand things better than we do. All of these different things. And obviously, we can tie that directly to our self esteem and how we feel about ourselves. But I believe that fear, at least in my own experience, fear has been the baseline. Um, Fear, anxiety, they're all to me coupled into the same things. But that fear will keep you from having certain experiences, um, doing certain things, taking certain risks, and life is no more than experiences, right? So the less we allow ourselves to put ourselves out there for us to make mistakes, to fail, to have people criticize us. And these things are things that we all fear terribly. A lot of us do, whether we admit it or not. Um, the less that we do these things and put ourselves out there to make mistakes and ultimately learn from them, the more we put ourselves in this bubble of comfortability, of perceived control. And we a lot of times we don't want to give that up. We don't want to give up our control or our grasp on our lives, and understandably so, because it's frightening to go into the unknown and to go into situations where you don't know if you're going to be able to make it or if you're going to be able to do whatever the task is at hand. That's a scary feeling. And obviously, we don't want to be the laughing stock of whatever social group that we're in. So we limit our experiences in life, and this naturally will erode and chip away at your self-esteem. You'll start to feel like you truly aren't capable of anything. You truly aren't except for the things that you already know how to do, of course. But anything new, anything broader than your limited perspective of what life is, you just have this dread or this fear about it. And the more that you put yourself in the position of, I have to have control of this, I can't be laughed at, I cannot fail, I can't make mistakes, the more you're going to find yourself in a place where you're trapped mentally, because you're just fully consumed by fear, because you cannot step outside of that sphere that you've put yourself in. And once it starts to crack open and you start to move towards these things that you are indeed afraid of, you become almost a new and reinvigorated person. And it's crazy how it works. I say all this to say that your next chapter of life, your next echelon, so to speak, of life, of living, of experiencing, is on the other side of that fear, is on the other side of that need to control your environment, to control your experiences. Once you step out of that, you'll realize that life begins to open up to you, and opportunity begins to open up to you, and you can see broader than you once did. But if you're too afraid to ever step out into that unknown and be willing to be laughed at, to be willing to make mistakes or fall down or whatever, then you'll never know. You'll never know, and you'll always be in this bubble, so to speak, and you'll live constantly in misery, because it is a miserable life to live where you're just afraid to ever step out of what you already know. And you'll just become a person who lives this very mundane, uneventful, with very few experiences. it can only be negative, and it's only going to create a person who has a lower self-esteem, lower self-worth, because in your mind you don't believe that you're capable. You may see all of these people out here living life, taking risks, having these experiences in their lives, and you wonder, why not me? Why can't I do that? But then when you start to really hash it out with yourself and you start to make a plan on how you're going to figure these things out, you'll find that you'll run into a barrier of some sort that will limit you, because that barrier being fear, you'll hit that fear barrier and you'll want to overcome it, but then you'll start to settle back into being comfortable and you'll forget about it for a while until something sparks that in you again, whether it be, a negative event or something pushes you towards, I got to change my life. I got to do something new. And then you'll get there and then you'll back up again until eventually you jump that barrier. But understand, the whole time that you're hitting this barrier and going backwards and then hitting this barrier and going backwards, time is passing you. Time is passing. You're getting older. Life is moving, and I'm not a person who believes that, at a certain age, all options are off the table or anything like that. But I do believe that, life is to be lived, you know what I mean? And you're only granted so much time alive, and we don't know how long that is. Anything can happen at any moment. And I do believe in that fully, that, really all you have is right now. So all the time that you're letting pass you by are years of your life that you could have been using to truly experience being alive and all of the wonders that come with being a living being. You know what I mean? Your self-esteem, your self-worth, the way that you feel and view yourself will be directly related to the amount of fear that you can overcome and how many risks you're willing to take in your life. This has been my experience. I can only speak from my experience, but I think this is something that a lot of people can relate to. You have to do whatever it takes. If you do truly want to get out of this place where you're constantly anxious, constantly worrying, constantly afraid of things that honestly are not even real. I mean, okay, I won't say they're not real. They are real. Failing is real. Mistakes are real. People laughing at you are real. These are all real things. But the effect that it has on your life, you are skewing in a more negative view or in a more negative light than it actually is. Making mistakes is a natural process of doing anything. Failing is a natural process of doing anything. People criticizing you and laughing at you and about you is a natural thing. This is happening right now. There's somebody somewhere or a group of people somewhere who are laughing at you right now, and you have no idea about it. And the thought that someone who has no real credibility in your life is laughing at a mistake that you made for taking a risk to make your life better, it's silly to even worry about it, because it's going to be even worse when you become an old person or an older person, someone who has more life behind them than in front of them, and look back and you regret so many things about your life and things that you wish you would have done, or you start to see that all of the things that held you back weren't even valid. They weren't even valid reasons to not do things or to take risks or to move forward, or to have these experiences. So, man, your next level up, your next echelon, your next whatever you want to call it, next chapter of life is going to come from you pushing to that barrier and then jumping over it. Jumping over the barrier of fear, jumping over the barrier of comfortability, jumping over the barrier of anxiety and worry, and taking those risks. That's the only way that you can get out of living the same day over and over and over and over and over and over again for a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades. Because I think as human beings, we all long for some change. We all long for a new chapter, something new, a new experience in our life. We all long for this. But if you're not willing to do the things that you don't already know how to do, or you're not willing to do things that are outside of your realm of understanding and experience, then you're only going to be limited to your understanding and your experience. Nothing more than that. So if that's not a life that you want to live, you have to make the strive to try, to really try and really face those fears, face that anxiety, face that worry, and understand that it's going to be okay. If you believe in God, then God got you. If you don't believe in God, understand and believe that you're capable of overcoming anything. You've made it this far, right? That's all we can do. Appreciate y'all watching. Once again, peace.